Good evening, everyone. This is the continued public meeting in connection with the 40B application involving the property at 648 to 652 Canton Avenue in Milton. When we last spoke about this a week or so ago, we began to discuss possible conditions without any commitment from really anyone that anyone was going to vote in favor of the project, but we sort of talked about conditions anticipating the possible approval of the 40B application. Since we last met, Judy Barrett, who I think is going to join us tonight, but is not presently on the screen, has worked with me and come up with a fairly extensive set of conditions, some of which are general and some of which are very site specific, that would be included in any decision whereby we will approve this project. And I think the consensus for tonight is that we will just run through that list of conditions, many of which are fairly typical and non-controversial. And so we can probably get through it fairly quickly, but there'll be some that we'll have to stop and spend some time on. That I think that discussion will necessarily spawn further discussion about maybe additional conditions or different conditions that we might consider adding to the mix. And I think that will be part of the discussion this evening. In thinking about this a lot this week, there's one sort of difficult issue that I don't really have any thoughts on how to fix or deal with, and that is the question of the emergency access. I think we probably all would agree that emergency access is an absolute necessary component of this development in any permit that we would grant. And we've heard throughout the process that there were opposition to that notion that they could use, I think it's Mohari's road or lane for emergency access, and that issue is still unresolved. I'm not aware of any lawsuits that have been filed, but certainly some could be filed in the future. And so I really don't know how to deal with that. Obviously, that I think we would want to have that as a specific condition that access be available. But I don't know how you do the timing of that, particularly if you're waiting for a lawsuit to happen. So that's something I think we need to discuss, but I think it's important. I tried today to go online and look at the title to the property, and I didn't have time to really dig deep enough into it to have a feel for what the outcome of any litigation would be relating to that issue. But I do know that the deed into the developer does not mention easements. It also does not bound on a street or way. It's a conveyance by reference to plans. And so the issue of implied easements, I think, is a tricky one. But in any event, I think that's something that we have to wrestle with, is how we're going to deal with that. Obviously, if we say you can't start until there's some formal adjudication by a court of competent jurisdiction, you have a right to go over this way. That could be years from now. That could be a deal killer. But again, I don't know how to grapple with that issue, but we can put that to the end. Yeah, so I'm sorry, Ted, did you want to?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Well, we can wait until we get to it in the end. At the end, I mean, there is a statute that Attorney Schomer is relying on, which I assume you saw in the.
Yeah, I did. Not sure. I mean, we could talk about that. I'm not sure that really applies here. But anyway.
Okay.
So, Mike, I know you spent some time with these conditions. You want to begin the process of sort of running through them?
Yeah. So Judy Barrett had forwarded the panel members. So first of all, I just got to say I've also been agonizing over this the last 2 days and even longer. And I think that the specter of us denying this application and having HAC remanded with instructions to just approve the project as presented is very scary to me. And so I think that we owe it to the neighbors and to the town to at least try to work through some conditions and see if we can come up with some conditions that that make this more workable in our collective mind. And so what I had been doing after speaking with Judy this afternoon was going through her proposed conditions and making comments to them on the document that she circulated. So what I was thinking actually, if this works for you guys, is why don't I share my screen and we can just go through the conditions and I can edit them as we go along. And then I think at the end of that process, we're going to either have a set of conditions that works or doesn't.
Okay.
But I think that seems like a reasonable way to do it. Does that make sense to you guys?
It
Sure.
does.
Sure, I have some handwritten comments on some of them as well. So we can go through it page by page or condition by
can.
condition. Yeah.
Ted, you can just chime in.
Well,
Yeah.
For each.
anybody can.
Right, exactly.
Right. All right. So let me share the screen, and I mean we could just start right from the top. Let's see here. Okay, so you should be seeing a Word document that's got the top line says key to color codes.
Yes, I see it.
Yes.
All right. So what Judy has done here, it looks like, was she has taken all the proposed conditions by the various parties and stakeholders and added them to, I think, what otherwise is a boilerplate set of conditions.
Yeah.
And so I think we should be free to add, subtract, and revise these as we go through.
Can I say one thing?
Yep.
I just want to, give Judy my heartfelt thanks, as I'm sure all of us do. I mean, she must have dropped everything and did this because we all got it last night. And, she just did a terrific job. So I wish she were on here. We can say it again when she does come on, but I really wanted to thank her, for
I second that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think she spent one entire day doing nothing but working on these conditions.
Yeah.
I think she did a very, very fine job. I appreciate it greatly. So thank you for bringing that up. I was remiss in not noting that.
I agree. I thought it was really helpful, and it really kind of got rid of a logjam that had been in my mind about how to begin this process. So starting with section A, which are the general conditions, I believe these are all pretty standard. I didn't have any comments to anything in section A, but if you want to go through them one by one, we can do that.
I did not have any comments in A either. I think they're all pretty boilerplate, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, there's at some point we have to go through. I mean, sometimes it's referred to as the project and sometimes the revised project. And that ought to be consistent at that point. Right. Yeah, and I just have a few other, I think they're probably relatively minor comments, if it's okay if I share them. So in A7, should it say, it says some of the requested waivers have been granted conditionally by the board as set forth in Exhibit B. I mean, are the waivers also potentially subject to the conditions in this section of the decision on conditions? I mean, I would think that some of them might be.
Yes. You have waivers, and in some cases, the board may have denied them. In some cases, the board may have approved them conditionally. And the conditions would be in this section of the decision.
Okay. So this talks about okay, fine. I mean, sometimes I assume the conditions are set forth right in the waiver.
Yeah, we typically don't do it that way. We typically put them in the decision. I mean, we're happy to. I'll do whatever you want. This is your decision. It's
no. It's just Judy, and you weren't on earlier, but we all expressed our great appreciation and thanks to you for the great job and for doing it so quickly. I mean, really, really an amazing job. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. And I'm happy to make whatever changes you want. It's fine. It was fast, Ted, so I'm sure you found
Yes,
some.
no, that's a terrific job. No, I was just referring to the letter that said some of the requested waivers have been granted conditionally by the board as set forth in Exhibit B, which is, I think, a list of waivers. And I just wondered whether some language should be in there, just saying that they're all subject to this list of conditions. I don't know where that would go or whether it's in some other, I didn't see it, but.
Well, typically, just because the waiver section tends to get really long,
Yeah.
because it's such a big table, typically what we've done is if there is a condition attached to an approved waiver, we cite in the waiver section, see condition, whatever. So it's cross-referenced back to this part.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so we don't need to say something like as set forth in Exhibit B and in these conditions.
You could. You could. I think that actually is better. I like that.
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
I think it's an improvement, Ted.
It is. That's why I like to work with you guys, because I always learn how to do something better.
So can you just run that by me again, Ted?
Well, it's at the top of page 2, at the second line where it says some of the requested waivers have been granted conditionally by the board as set forth in Exhibit B. And I was thinking about adding after Exhibit B and in these conditions with a capital C.
I like that. It's really good.
Thank you. Let's see. In A9, where it says to us about, a little past halfway down in that paragraph, at the end of the line, it says to assist in the, I'm sorry. It says as reasonably determined by, does it need to say the board, the building inspector, or applicable department head? Or is it just the building inspector?
Mike, it looks like the decision is no longer being shared and that you're sharing your screen, which has email, which I'm not sure you want to do.
Hang on one second. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I have done that before myself.
You don't need to see my clients yelling at me.
No, don't remind it me.
All right. How about that?
There we are. Yeah.
Okay. So I added by the board, comma, the building inspector.
And I guess the same thing would go in the next line. As determined by the board, the building inspector, or applicable department head. And then in the next line, to make it consistent, it says 30-day and up above, it was changed to 60.
Yeah, so just so you know, this came from the building inspector in another decision that's currently in deliberations. I usually say 30 days, and he just said through Tim that it would be better to say 60 just because everybody's so swamped.
Right, makes sense.
Okay. A10, vision of comprehensive permit binding on the successful signs of the applicants and the obligations from the land. I have, and I don't know this, but I'll read it and you guys can tell me if you think it's important enough to add. At the end of the second line, it begins, in the event that the applicant sells, transfers, or assigns its interest in the revised project. And I was going to add after that, after the comma, or any portion thereof or interest therein. In other words, if part of the land were sold off or part of it were, I suppose it could be condominiumized at some point or something.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to add.
Okay.
Judy, you getting these things?
I wasn't because I thought Mike was editing it.
Yeah,
Am I
Mike-
right about that?
Oh, if Mike is doing it right on the spot, that's great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
I figured I would just watch tonight. And then, because I know Mike is going to circulate this. Am I wrong, Mike? Because I'll open mine up if you need me to.
You are correct. Yep.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
the intention.
Okay. And I guess the same thing would go at the very end of that paragraph where, you know, after the word project and before the period. And I don't know whether project should be capitalized or
Yeah, it should. You're right.
whatever.
Or transfer of,
I'm sorry, assignment of the project or any portion thereof or interest therein. I guess it would be, I guess I have a note in the margin that I looked at. So the project, is that how, Judy, in these things, there's a reference also to the site at some point and to the property. So I guess the transfer of the project, would that be before it's completed and then afterward? I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly technical about, you know, whether it needs to say, you know, any transfer of the property or any transfer of the site or however that's defined in addition to the project.
I don't think it does because in
No.
the procedural history that you don't have yet, it's going to lay out the application, the project eligibility, what's the property, what's the project, and the project subsumes the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have on that page.
we need to jump back up to A4, which lays out the number of units.
Mhm. Yeah, I just put in here what they had applied for because I didn't know what you wanted to do.
I mean, my initial thought, and this is definitely, correct me if I'm wrong, is that I don't know if we have much, if any, evidence in the record to make this, you know, decisions about the size of the project or the number of units, right?
I don't think we do, Mike. I think it would be completely arbitrary.
No, I don't think we. I mean, I don't think we do either. I think there was a suggestion in a letter that I saw that 40 units might be around a right number, but I don't remember any backup or anything in writing that was given that indicated how the project could otherwise be done successfully, or the amount of fill, or you know, anything that we could go on. I mean, I don't know. What about in your experience, Brian? I think we talked about this at the last session, but
I think it would be, it's at this point in the game, it would be just a completely arbitrary number. We have no evidence to suggest to us what the right number would be that would ameliorate some of the concerns that have been articulated. I just don't think we have any basis to do it. I think it would be completely arbitrary.
mm-hmm.
And we don't know, and we have no idea how it would affect the feasibility of the project.
Okay.
I think it's pretty fundamental. I just don't think we have a basis to monkey around with this number. As appealing as it might be, I just don't think we have a basis for it.
I agree.
But I think it's a point worth discussing, but I just don't think there's much we can do.
A12, I just have a note in the margin that I looked through the plans. Maybe there were some amendments that were filed later that I didn't see. But I don't remember, and I didn't see or couldn't find, I guess is a better way of putting it, anything on the plans showing areas of snow storage. Do you guys remember seeing that on the plans?
So I think you're correct, Ted, and this is language that there's sort of been in
Right.
a couple of the other decisions, but I looked myself and I didn't see it. And I think it's something that probably should be on the list of things to be shown on the final plans that are, the construction plans. When they're submitting for a building permit, it should be shown on the plan. Because there's
Okay,
a
so-
condition that says if there's if there's too much snow, they have to relocate it off-site. And so
So-
that probably doesn't even need to be here.
So yeah, I mean, unless it would say something like shall be designated on the final plans, or I don't know.
Mhm.
Is
That's all
that-
I'm saying. I think we can just put that with the list of the things that have to be provided for it when they apply for the building permit.
I'm going to put in some
Might wanna
quasi-English
put
here,
some-
Judy, but yeah, I'm sure you can.
Yeah. Put some placeholder text in here just so we don't lose the.
I mean, you could simply do it by just adding the words to be in front of designated.
You're able to say
On the
to be
final
dis-
plan.
On the
On the
final
final
plan.
plans. And shall not be anywhere near roadways or wetland resource areas. I think that's fine.
Okay, and then the final.
Yeah, and
plan
then
will
that-
include-
There it
It
is.
already says the final plans. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's the only thing I have on that page. But
good point.
I don't have anything on that page. Keep going, Ted, you want to roll?
Okay, yeah, I guess the next one I have is on C1. See, prior to the start of any construction or development activities, including site clearing, I don't know, do we need specifically put in there earth removal and fill? Use and movement of trucks and equipment.
Yeah,
I mean, there's probably other things that could go in there too. It's so many activities. I can try to think of some other ones. This was,
Yeah.
But then it said, I wasn't sure what this language meant. I just want to make sure that it says whether or not pursuant to a building permit.
in other words, regardless of whether they've asked for a building permit at this point, they have to submit certain things to the building inspector. They basically can't do any work on the site until these conditions are met.
So in other words, Ted, if they were
Right.
doing work on the site before they obtained the building permit, this would apply.
Okay,
they
so
might-
it's like, well, yeah, so it's whether or not a building permit has been obtained at that point or whatever. Okay,
Because the next tier of conditions relates to the building permit.
Right.
okay.
So in terms of the activities listed here, can we include things like staging, storage of materials? I mean, I'm trying to think of all the things that get done before,
Yeah.
at the front end of the project.
There are a number of them. And then, earth removal and fill is fairly big in this case. And the, use and movement of trucks and equipment on the property. Yeah, let me see, earth removal and fill, can we put? I mean, I mean, we can always think of other ones and add them. This is great that you're doing this though, Mike.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Okay, that's all I have on that page. The next thing is small 3, triple I. A statement and update of the then most recent annual compliance report. Should that say and the status of compliance?
And I'm sorry, I lost it. Where are we?
So this goes
Small
back,
triple I.
this goes back to a condition that Jeff requested for 582.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the concern that if all of these projects somehow end up under construction at once, the building department and all the town departments are going to be overwhelmed. And that alternatively work may kind of drag out, things may not go as planned. And so what was put in that decision, and I probably should have checked and spelled it out better here, was the idea that the applicant is on the hook to provide kind of an annual report to the building department and the planning director about where they are with the project. And so this is just simply and oh, by the way, as part of the things you have to do at this point, you have to submit an annual compliance report about where you are with the project.
Right. No, that's a good idea. Yeah, I was just talking about possibly after the word words annual compliance report, adding the word and the status of compliance.
I think it's on the status.
Oh, on. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
on the
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, thank you. And then on B, is that is that right there? It's I guess Mike said it, and obtain a stormwater management permit. This is what the applicant is supposed to do, I guess.
Correct. These are all conditions the applicant has to meet. So it really should be obtain and submit.
Okay, that's okay. Because I had submit.
So that then makes the following clause make sense, which is when you're submitting, you're including a copy of the stormwater prevention plan.
Okay.
And so forth.
Okay. Should site be capitalized? Where it is in it there?
Well, it's not.
Sometimes it isn't.
Permit.
No. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not part of the name of this permit. So I think it would just be the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's the correct name.
I don't think it's a previously defined term, Ted, is it?
Well, I don't know. I think it was capitalized sometimes previously in the thing. That's why I but it doesn't.
I don't think it needs to be capitalized.
Okay. C. Just have in the third line, such information shall include identification of. Can we add the word all in there? All soil debris and other materials to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the as well as the source, should we say, and volume of all imported materials?
Good.
Okay. Yeah, see, there is site is capitalized, but I guess it doesn't make a difference. Anybody else have anything to add to that or thoughts? No.
No, I think that's good. I think it's a good change.
E. I just have, it says minimize damage and destruction of trees.
Oh, on E?
I would say to protect, maybe we can say protect said trees from any and all damage from construction. Or maybe from construction activities, we could put that because they're all defined above. Did we capitalize them, that word? That term?
So Ted, how would it read, just so I can get this?
Well, okay, so you can't see the shared screen that Mike has?
I think he's looking down and writing on his own notes.
Oh,
So
I am.
to preserve
okay.
and protect said trees from damage from construction.
From any and all damage, I think, right?
I think that's what you said. Yeah, any and all.
Yeah.
This is the
Any and
editing
all.
I told you would do.
Any and all damage from construction activities.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
Huh?
if we refer to construction
Judy.
activities
I
above,
love this.
do we need to define construction activities above?
Well,
or
wasn't it defined?
I think it was.
Yeah, it says collectively at the very beginning of C1. It
Oh,
has
yeah.
it,
Yep.
construction activities. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. And then the only thing I have on the next paragraph, I think, is, you know, I don't know what the right amount is. I mean, the $20,000, is that?
It's been what's in the other permits. So it seemed to be a number that people were comfortable with. I wouldn't know how to, I don't have enough information to suggest an adjustment to it. You may feel differently. I just went with what we had been doing customarily before.
I mean, I think it sounds like a reasonable number, especially with the language that follows that says if it's not enough, we'll ask for more, and if it's too much, we'll give it back.
Yeah, I mean, it does say at the end, if at any time the board reasonably determines there are insufficient
Right.
funds. Okay.
I agree with Judy. I mean, I think the number is light, knowing how quickly my own legal
Yeah.
bills escalate.
Right.
But as long as we have that sort of saving language at the end, I don't think it really matters. I agree with Judy. It's for us to pick a number would be completely arbitrary. I think the last sentence saves us.
G, I just have a question. Does post cash a bond or enter into an agreement with its construction lender? Is this another one from one of the other decisions?
It really should be post cash or a bond, comma, or enter into an agreement with.
Right. But I mean, do you know why it's with the construction lender and not with the applicant? Or, oh, the applicant is posting,
Doing this, right.
entering into agreement with its construction lender.
That's right.
Exactly.
To provide surety.
These are
Right.
all things the applicant has to
Okay.
do.
Right. Okay. What paragraph number is this again?
And
Okay,
I think
the third line in that, in G, after grubbed, can we add the word filled?
so. I figured that that's what you were going to add, Ted. And is $25,000 enough here, given the amount of fill and the extent of the pre-construction site work?
I don't know. Should it say and or filled or something rather than, you know, because it could be any of these. It doesn't have to be all of them. That would cause damage. Yeah, 25,000 seems light too, particularly if it's it's the fill. Of course, if it's abandoned, I mean, it still belongs to the applicant, right?
Presumably, yeah.
Yeah, but it's, yeah, it's the problem of the erosion control and everything, I guess.
It may be that the right number is more like 50,000.
Thinking more than that, but I'll.
Well, again, like I don't have any
I know.
empirical basis for it. It's sort of just. I mean, maybe the right number is 100,000. I don't know.
Um,
I mean,
Okay.
if any or all of those things were to occur, it will be expensive to fix them.
Absolutely. Yeah, more than, yeah, $50,000 would be a drop in the bucket.
So is 100,000 the right number?
Or should it be left to somebody to decide on the bond, somebody from the town,
The Department of Public Works or?
DPW
Hmm.
director or something?
Here?
You know, because it would depend upon, you know, how much had been done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's, do you agree with that, Brian? Do you have any thoughts on who
No,
should be?
I think it probably should be DPW.
Okay,
But DPW is going to make the determination of the amount before any work is done, right? Based only on the plans.
I would assume so.
So. So let's say this. I'm just trying to come up with language to describe the timing of this determination. Prior to construction activities, I mean, upon issuance of this comprehensive permit.
will be determined by Milton DPW. I'm sorry, what was the end of that sentence?
Or need to be determined by-
Will be determined by Milton DPW upon issuance of this comprehensive permit.
I guess, and prior to the,
I think it's a period after that. And then the next word upon is a new sentence.
well,
Yeah, I think that's right.
determined by the Milton DPW prior to the commencement of any construction activities capitalized.
But but this condition's under that. This is,
Right.
everything here is prior to any activity on the site.
Yeah, that's if you look at the
Okay.
first paragraph, it says that.
I was
Okay.
this is a big checklist.
Okay. All right, so you think it's okay as is with just determined by Milton DPW period?
Yeah, I think so. And we've
Okay.
already said when it starts.
Okay. All right. In H, I just wanted to say that it might be in part, it's more detailed, but it might be in part duplicative, at least the first part about submitting a final stormwater pollution prevention plan of B above.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. I'm not sure why I did that.
Um,
Yeah, I think that B and H need to be revisited.
yeah, I mean, H has more detail to it,
Yeah, it
obviously.
does. It
And,
does.
in a certain sense, but B mentions the permit and stormwater management plans and report and operation and maintenance plan. So maybe they need to be combined somehow.
Yeah, I think I need to work on that more. Why don't you let me do that?
Or at a minimum, they should be reversed in order. I think you could just do the bigger one and then tack on the other one in the end. I think it should be merged into one.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Let me hit this. The next. Oh, okay. So did you already add some of this to K?
Yeah. So yep. So these are just my thoughts. Before the meeting, I was just trying to get my thoughts out on the paper. Take or leave whatever you want here.
Yeah, I have some language too from another one that I have from another decision that I had on my computer that said prior to commencement of construction and subject to approval by the building commissioner, the applicant shall provide a construction management plan that shall include but not be limited to limit of work areas, the protection of abutting properties, the locations for storage of construction materials and equipment, dust and airborne particle control, security fencing, trash areas, earthwork. I mean, it's fairly comprehensive. It's got a lot of things in it. But I don't know whether I mean maybe I should just send it to Judy tomorrow or something, or to you, Mike, or something.
Yeah, why don't you send it to me? Yeah, send it to me tomorrow and I'll just plug it in.
That makes sense.
I'm gonna leave in probably, well, I don't know, we can talk about it, but I just made the traffic aspects of the construction management plan a little broader to it's basically account for all the schools, not just Milton High School, because there are a number of schools in that neighborhood and the buses are going by all the time. And, there's a lot going on with respect to the schools and the kids other than just pick up and drop off. So I just made that a little bit broader.
Mike, that's fine.
I asked for an impact on not just traffic, but on the roads, the facilities, and resources of the town. And to that end, I was getting at police details and road maintenance and things like that.
Yeah.
So what I'll do, Ted, is if you send that to me tomorrow, I'll merge that with this, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read what I wrote down here. So I don't know how what detail you can put in or what can be put in. I mean, so some of these things, I guess, can be dealt with in, by later conditions. But, you know, 5 says final stormwater management report demonstrating compliance with Massachusetts stormwater policy. And I just had a note in here. I mean, can something be put in there about, you know, and no increase in water levels following construction or something like that? And then some kind of a catch-all thing saying any other information required by town departments and consultants is information. Maybe that's too much.
So at the end of this section, Ted, I added, I added some ideas for similar language.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably a better place to put it.
But
that's probably a better place to put it. So in the paragraph after 9, it says final plans are subject to review and approval by the board's designated agent. Now, is that the building inspector or DPW or who is that?
Typically the building inspector.
Okay. Should we say that? Specify? Or leave it open?
I would leave it open.
Okay. Okay. Is the language approval not to be unreasonably withheld? Is that generally
Yes,
used?
pretty standard.
Okay. The next one I have is small I. That's under, I guess it's under C2, sorry. Third line from the bottom, where it says that show suitable and adequate, or some other word like adequate, you know.
Sure.
Okay. And then J, I just had at the very last line there on that page, which says the condition of the property. But I had that circled, but that will be defined, Judy, and that's different from the project, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. C3. I mean, you guys jump in with anything that you know, C2. I mean, I mean, that might come up with which I'm on that page. Okay, C3A. Install the gravel and binder. Should that be coats?
No, it's
Course.
course. Course is the right word.
Course is the right word. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. C, second to last line, specifically noted and approved. I don't know, should say in writing by the building inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
End of E. Let's see. Submit portions of the as-built plan plans pertaining to the stormwater management system. Should the, for review, is that, are there words missing there, or am I just?
Where am I? Where are you, Ted?
I'm sorry, it's in E, at the very beginning of E.
Mhm. Okay, stormwater management.
Pertaining to the stormwater management plan and certification by peer review engineer.
By the peer
Oh.
review. Sorry.
Submit plans pertaining to stormwater management system and certification by the peer review engineer of compliance.
Yep. Conditions of the
Oh,
storm.
with the conditions of approval for the
Approval.
storm. Okay, all right.
And
I
then-
get it now.
All right.
I just had a question mark next to it.
Yeah.
And again, I had, some comments in the margin to, no increase in groundwater levels following construction on site or on any abutting or downgrading property. But we can deal with that. We're going to deal with that in later. Right, Mike, you can shake your head. I know you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, again, I just want to stress that whatever I have here is just notes. I think it's probably going to deserve
That's great.
fulsome conversation.
Yeah, okay, great. C4. Small c. Submit to the building inspector as-built plans for all buildings in the revised project and any modifications to the as-built plans. Or is or better? Is or better? And or? Okay. If I just have a period at the end of the thing, that's.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I used to do proofreading and what.
I love this.
I
It is awesome.
From my
You're
church.
So good at this. Oh,
okay.
my goodness.
D1, during construction, applicant shall comply with this construction management plan referred to in condition C.1. Should we put K above? I think it's K.
It could be. I actually, when I'm in this drafting mode, I'm so reluctant to put those very refined
Right.
in because they
Right.
could move.
Yeah, because it can change, right?
That's right. They do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is K now, but you're right. I mean, it could change, but
Maybe you should just highlight it for now as sort of a reminder that that's something that should be further edited. It's just a suggestion.
Wait, so where are we now?
This is D.1. D.1, yeah. And then the second sentence, the applicant shall provide quarterly updates to the building inspector. I mean, is that standard? Quarterly, 4 times a year? That doesn't seem frequent enough. Is it maybe because Joe's so busy, or is that?
No, I think that's just always been, I mean, that's no justification, but I think it usually is just been quarterly in all of these, and he has not objected to that. Nor has he asked for more frequent reports.
Okay. You guys okay with quarterly?
It's really up to the building inspector. If he thinks that's adequate, Ted, then
okay.
who am I to say otherwise?
How about we say something like, shall provide quarterly updates to the quarterly or as requested.
Very good. I can go home. You don't need to do this tonight.
Don't go anywhere, Judy.
My goodness.
You young guys can do this a lot better on that than I can on the screen.
Yeah, which young guys are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mike.
All right, take the plural off that.
Okay. Well,
What would you say?
well, you're not a guy. Okay. B, small triple I, estimated number of truck trips. Should that be clarified or? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Number of truck trips, yes.
Estimated number of truck.
Right.
Does it need to say estimated number and timing of truck trips or?
I don't know.
I mean, I think that's covered by Roman numeral 4, construction period, mitigation measures consistent with the conditions stated herein.
I think that's picked up elsewhere.
Okay. This was okay. Well, this was for the trucking plan, though. So
Right.
Okay.
Judy, should we have a sentence at the end of that paragraph trucking plan that says something like, this plan is subject to the approval of the DPW director and the police chief?
Sure, that sounds good.
I think that's actually probably a pretty good idea. And
I just thrown this in there because I want you guys to know that I'm paying attention. I didn't want you to think I was asleep.
That was your big
I would
moment.
say shall be subject to.
Okay.
Just so you know, I'm not falling asleep at the wheel here.
So there's some in C. So there's someplace else in the conditions there it specifies the hours. Like, just have, okay. That's all I have for that. I have some. So you have some language for J too. Mike.
Yeah, so the original language said that use of Mergewood Road during construction should be limited to the extent required to perform work in the vicinity of the proposed secondary access driveway. And I just took that out. I don't know that we can allow use of Mergewood Road for anything other than emergency access, and I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah, I have that bracketed with the out next to it as well.
I agree. I don't think we can include that.
Okay. So traffic and parking, specify on-site parking locations, snow removal procedures, warning signs, and police details. Well, I think we could take out if any. I think there should be police details.
I agree. We can take that out.
No construction equipment shall be offloaded or staged. And I have added in there, and no vehicles of any kind shall be parked on Canton Avenue, Mergewood Road, Holmes Lane, or other public or private ways. Well, I'm going too fast, but I mean, do you guys agree that we should put something in there about no parking on it too? I mean, it says below, parking of all vehicles and equipment shall be, and I added the word in here, solely on site during construction. But I don't think it hurts above to be more specific and say that no vehicles shall be parked on Canton Avenue, Mergewood Road, or Holmes Lane. I guess maybe it should say no vehicles or equipment of any kind. What do you think?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't. Equipment of any kind shall be parked, okay, or left idling. Or other public or private ways, maybe you can put.
Yeah.
Or other adjacent property. I just have, or other adjacent property that is not part of the project site, right? Or I suppose if there was other, I mean, that's the only property under control, right? Or is it of the applicant?
As far as I know.
Right. I mean, I think the applicant might say that Mergewood Road counts as under control.
There's a dispute on that, right? Or,
There's a dispute on that. I took out the word adjacent because I don't,
Yeah, I think adjacent should come out.
right. Okay. And then again, in the next sentence where it says parking of all vehicles and equipment shall be, I added the word solely on site during construction.
Okay.
Then the only other comment I had was that last sentence about that was already taken out.
So I haven't taken the whole thing out. I mean, is that what we want to do? Is take out, is to really prohibit any activity on Mergewood Road?
Use of Mergewood Road during construction should be limited to emergency access.
Or should it say?
Is that still an issue? Or
What is?
Whether Mergewood Road can be used for emergency access, whether during construction or, after construction.
As far as I know, it's an issue.
So should we just say use of Mergewood Road during construction is not permitted? Or is it excluded?
Yeah, well, I think that, that applies to Holmes Lane too, I think, right?
Yeah, they haven't claimed any right to use Holmes Lane, but it can't hurt to put that in there. I think we should just say use of Mergewood Road or Holmes Lane. Now that you mentioned it, Ted, is prohibited.
Okay. Period. Okay.
What do you think, Mike? Is that going too far?
No, I don't think so. That was my kind of inclination anyway. I don't, it's unsettled in my mind whether they have any right to it, and I don't think the applicant should plan on using that for construction.
Right.
I haven't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going on that.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, again, to go back to Mergewood, from a very limited look at the record, it seems to me unlikely that they would have the right to use that road for construction vehicles. I think at best, they're going to have a right to use it for some kind of access at best, and I'm not sure that they will be able to establish even that limited right. I don't see an express grant of easement in the public record, and I think Jesse Schomer would have pointed it out to us if there was one. I think it's an implied right at best, And, Ted, you know how those things go. I mean, it could be limited. It could not, but I think we should just say no. I don't think we have any business authorizing them to use it for any purpose.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought about there was no expert who testified on either side as to the right to use it, and it's disputed. And
yeah, I guarantee you, if there was a document in the form of an easement that was publicly recorded in the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, we would have heard about it from the applicant because it ain't there.
Okay.
And the deed into them references a parcel as shown on a plan. It doesn't deed into them a parcel that's described as bounding to the north by thus and so and to the east by Mergewood. It says parcel A on such and such a plan.
Yeah.
And it does. I looked at the deed today. It does not say, and a pertinent there too is anything. It just says the plan, that the parcel shown on the plan. That's all it says. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. Okay. After L, I just have a note that says provision requiring police details at the entrance to control construction traffic. But I didn't do the specific language.
And I'm sorry, where are you now?
I'm at the very end of D.1 after small l. Whether or not there should be an M added regarding, a requirement of police details at the entrance.
I had that in my notes as something that I thought we should probably add.
Okay, so maybe we can just put a note on that, rather than come up with the language right now. Okay. D.2. Can we say in the first sentence, construction shall be in accordance with all applicable laws, plural?
Sure.
Okay. The requirement in this complement. D.3, all fill used in connection with revised projects should be clean fill as approved by the applicable town department or official with jurisdiction. I don't know. Do we get to a point it's something where somebody who is a retained town consultant it may also be appropriate to have them weigh in on some of the things like fill, or is that just a town department?
You
What do
mean
you think, Judy?
inspecting the fill, or?
Well, or what kind of fill it should be? I mean, I think some of the experts express some opinion as to what kind of.
Yeah, but Ted, I think the town people can figure that out, don't you?
I think the town department heads are the appropriate people to do that, but if they need additional assistance,
They can ask for it.
They should be able to ask for it at the applicant's expense.
Yeah, I know there were some discussions about permeability and everything and hydraulic conductivity, Okay. D4, in the middle, disposed of in accordance with applicable laws. The only reason I'm saying this, Judy, is you did a great job at the beginning that talked about what defined applicable law and laws. And you said collectively applicable laws and each individually an applicable law. So that's why I'm using plural sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
Okay. D.5, no disturbed area shall be left in unstabilized condition longer than 60 days. Is that too long a period of time without appropriate temporary stabilization.
It has been the standard. I mean, just so you know, the peer review consultants, or at least Sean anyway, saw all this and has commented on, like,
Uh,
I provided some of the language, which you've seen, the
Okay,
language that was in color highlights. So I
Well,
haven't heard
just-
any pushback on that.
yeah, I mean, it just seemed to me that, yeah, for erosion control,
Mhm.
60 days, if we're in a rainy period or something, 60 days could be a long time.
Mhm.
Judy, could you just specifically ask Sean that question?
Certainly.
And if he says 60 is okay, we can leave it. If he says 30, we'll change it.
That's fine.
I don't feel like I have any, sort of empirical basis on a number of days. So if we have something that can help us with that, I think we should take advantage of it.
I think that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. D6 says all construction activities on site should comply with Chapter 26 of the Milton Town bylaws. I could not find a Chapter 26. The copy that's on the town website only goes up to Chapter 23.
I wonder if it's an old code reference. I don't know.
It might be, but I wanted to look at it, so I'm just mentioning that. Maybe we ought to find out about it.
Yeah, we should. I actually had not questioned that, so thank you. That's another, got to check into it.
Okay, great.
What is what section? I mean, what is the?
I think it's a
Subject
section that
matter.
refers to days that construction can't take place. I think that's the intent of it. So I can check tomorrow, Mike.
Well, and the hours, I think it says.
I think it's hours of construction and certain days.
Yeah.
Judy and I have a call tomorrow morning with Joe Prondak about an unrelated matter, so we can double check on that. I know that Joe had a comment about, you made a reference to the town's blasting bylaw, which unfortunately is not posted on the town website, although it has been approved by town meeting. This is something that if you're a town meeting member, you may recall the formation of the bylaw review committee is hard at work on getting our bylaws organized and posted. They exist, but they're not as easy to find as they should be. So we'll confirm all those references.
Okay. D.7, down about 2/3 of the way, the line that begins in supplies. I added in there where after delivery or removal, I added of fill and of equipment or machinery.
Oh yeah, I fell behind. We're on D7.
D7,
Yeah.
right? Just a little below the middle of the paragraph, Mike.
Okay, can you say that again, Ted?
The line that begins and supplies, semicolon, delivery or removal of, I added in there fill and of, then it says equipment or machinery. And then in the next line, after clearing, speaking of blasting, I added blasting. I mean, who knows whether there's any blasting required here, but so it says clearing, and then blasting, and then grading.
And grading, yeah. Can't hurt to have it in there.
No. D.8, applicants shall permit upon subject to applicable safety standards, representatives of the board. Should it also say, or does it need to say, and of the building inspector? I don't know who else it would be. Or DPW, I don't know. I mean, somebody other than, unless representatives of the board means the building inspector and DPW.
Why don't we just say representatives of the town or the board?
Okay.
Okay.
Soil, D10, soil material used to backfill pipes, access drives, or structures shall be certified by the, is that the applicant's civil engineer? To the DPW director, this meeting.
I mean, typically the applicant's engineer would do that.
Yeah,
That was my understanding. I think that's,
yeah. Can we put?
I think we should put that in there.
Yeah. So I guess 8.11, I have a question mark about, it says about the security fencing, at least until the first occupancy permit is issued. I don't know whether that would be early or whether that's customary. I guess it's customary if it's in here. But not all projects are this big, I guess, either.
What if the site is done in phases? I mean, you can have a certificate of occupancy issued for phase 1 while phase 2 is still under construction.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking when I was. Anybody have any thoughts on? Should it be the first occupancy permit for the last building? Are people going to want to move in with security fences all around? I guess maybe that's what.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, Judy, it seems like it's pretty standard, right?
It is.
Okay, so keep it that way.
I think we have to, Ted.
Okay. D13. Again, should the second line, snow storage areas shall be shown on the final plans.
Yes.
That's fine. That's a good change.
Okay. Next one I have is E7, and I meant to go back and look. And I forgot to. The road safety audit, was he okay just with doing the short-term improvements prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy?
I'm pretty sure that's the language that was in his.
Okay. Would it be a certificate of occupancy for the project, or would it be?
That was his wording. So, I mean, you have to decide whether it's certificate of occupancy for the first unit in the project, the final certificate of occupancy, but that was Jeff's language.
With all the construction traffic and everything, I mean, would it make sense to have it required before the commencement of construction activities?
Well, I wondered about that too, but that's not what he had recommended, and I didn't want to
Right.
put. I didn't.
No, I understand. I don't just. Okay, but he was okay with short-term improvements.
That was exactly what he said.
So what do you guys think about the timing?
So I mean, I think that the audit was not, I don't remember that the audit took into account the construction phase, right?
It probably did not.
Right. So
I don't think it did, Mike. I think that's a good point.
So what are you saying? That
I'm saying that I would like to require these improvements to be made prior to any construction activity, because we know that there's going to be traffic impact during the construction phase. However, the recommendations of the road safety audit have nothing to do with the construction phase. And so we would kind of be unilaterally extending those requirements to the construction phase.
Right.
And that would, I'm sure, would hold up the timeline.
So should it say, it says a certificate of occupancy for the project. That would be like, would that be for the entire project? Is that the completion of the project? I mean,
think you-
certificate of,
So Jeff did not address that. Jeff
Yeah.
was talking about the project as a whole. And of course, in our decisions, we typically refer to two issuance moments, one for the first unit and one for the final completion. So I think you guys have to decide where you want this to kick in.
I'll be honest with you. I think that if anything, the traffic issues that could exist during the construction phase may outweigh the traffic issues post-construction.
Mhm.
And
I understand.
that's a paramount concern for me. So I'd be willing to make that extension and require it before construction activities. No?
I don't know. Why don't we take this up tomorrow? Maybe Tim and I and maybe the DPW director or town engineer should have a discussion about this. We could do that.
okay.
I think we should look at this. I flinched when I saw this language myself. Because I think that Jeff was really kind of referring to the overall project, when it's done and not what's happening to get it done. I don't think that the context of this was around construction. I think it was the permanent operation of the project.
Right. I mean, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Me too. Okay. So we agreed that Judy's going to talk with Tim
gonna
and
talk
maybe DPW.
I'll talk to Tim in the morning. We have a call with the building inspector anyway. Let's figure out who we ought to bring in on this so that we can have some in-house input.
Okay.
I share your discomfort with this. I just wasn't sure. I was trying not to assert myself in any of this and just, get in here what the consultants had said.
Okay.
But it's not sitting right with me either.
8.8, I just have one minor addition at the end of the first line.
Mhm.
Because it says TDM below, after it says transportation demand management,
That's
parentheses,
sloppiness.
quote,
Yeah,
TDM, end quote, in parentheses.
it should be up at the beginning in E8, implemented transportation demand management, parentheses, TDM program.
Right.
That's where it belongs. Sorry.
Okay. That's all I have for that one. So I don't have anything for the next page. And then we get into G4, which is groundwater monitoring conditions. I mean, you probably did some stuff on that, right?
I got input. Well, so first of all, the hydrogeologist from Tetra Tech had made some recommendations in his memo.
Right.
And so Sean just helped me pull all that together, plus information that had been in his earlier reports. And that's where this comes from.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have some? I mean, I have a few, but they're not. Or did you do them at the end?
I did mine down here.
Oh, okay.
There's a good chance that they are repetitive. And there's a good chance that they're not applicable, but I was just kind of freestyle writing. So G21 basically says that the applicant shall ensure that, there's no negative impact on abutting properties or downstream. And that if there is, the town can take steps to remedy the situation at the applicant's cost. a little bit bold. I don't know if we have the basis to do it. I found it in another decision, but again, these are just thoughts.
Mike, I'm sorry, which one are we talking about now on the screen?
21.
So it's
This is one that Mike drafted, so it's not in it's
No, I
not in
see it.
Judy. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I'm just trying to read it. I guess my only comment, Mike, is how do you define an impact?
That's a good thought.
Is that, Judy, is that something you could ask Sean?
Yeah.
If there's a way to define an adverse impact in a way that
Oh, boy.
is sort of objective?
Mhm.
Got to be objective.
And if there is such a way to do that, then I wouldn't be adverse to putting this in here.
So
Maybe-
Mike, I'm going, I'm
because-
sorry.
Because 3 drops of water could be an impact to some people, you know? I mean, I don't know.
We have to be careful how we phrase this.
Right.
Mike, would it be a problem before tomorrow morning? Can you send this to me just so I have your wording? So I just have the kind of concrete language to ask Sean to help us modify?
Absolutely.
That would be super. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to do that before we go any further? Or?
Well, I mean, I can't do that till tomorrow, but if there's anything
No.
else on here, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That's okay. I meant before. Yeah, I guess we might as well. I mean, we might be wasting time to spend time talking about it if Sean's going to take a pass at. How many provisions are there, Mike? Did you draft?
I only drafted about 2 more, and they may fall into the same category as, we might strike them right off immediately.
We got to come up with something on this, so maybe Sean can help with that too. I mean, the ones that I had from earlier on were just basically, I mean, are we gonna require that as a condition that the town retain an independent hydrologist or hydrogeologist?
That's one thing that I put in as my last one.
Okay.
So G24 says compliance with this section G, meaning this whole section dealing with water, shall be ascertained by a certified hydrogeologist after substantial completion of the installation of the drainage systems and stormwater management systems on the site, comma, prior to any construction activities, comma, and prior to issuance of any certificate of occupancy. The applicant shall conform these systems to the determination of said hydrogeologist at its own cost.
So the first in time would be prior to any construction activities, right?
Mhm.
And then they'd do it again. He or she would do it again after substantial completion of the installation of the drainage systems and stormwater management system. And then the third time would be prior to any issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Is that
right?
And I mean, was there anything, I can't remember, did yours say anything about putting in monitoring wells? Judy, I can't remember.
I think Sean had provided that language.
That's in there.
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
so.
I think it was like 8.
Oh, yeah.
monitoring wells.
Yeah, G4, it's the first one in G4, yeah. Okay. let's see, I made some notes on. Well, okay, so what I did back let's start. Oh, in G4 was wherever it said, and it said that in pretty much all of them, where it talked about approval or by the board, or providing compiled results to the board, or upon request by the board. I had in all of them, and I think it was pretty much in every sub paragraph that he added, and it's consulting hydrogeologist, because that they're the one. The hydrogeologist is, or however it's defined in, or however you refer to them in your paragraph, Mike, him or her, or consulting engineer, or I guess it would be a consulting hydrogeologist. In all of these, I guess the board should be involved, but it's mainly the independent hydrogeologist.
Do you want this reviewed and approved by you guys or the
No
director?
No. Well, I suppose the DPW director could be involved too, but we want to have an independent. The water issue is so important. We want to have a peer review hydrogeologist appointed to review it and monitor what's going on the whole time too.
No question about that. But it sounds here like you're basically saying the applicant has to come back to the board for something, and
no, I'm not saying that's the language that Sean had in there. I wanted to make sure that the hydrogeologist was included, but maybe it should say the DPW director and the hydrogeologist.
Should, yeah.
Yeah. They're the ones that should probably be getting it, and not the board.
Mm-hmm.
So that would go here as well.
Wherever the board is.
And you can always have that information provided to the board anyway. It's a question of who's going to review it and actually say approved or not. And I think you want to leave that to the DPW director, but you may want to be able to have that information. So you should just say, with copied to the board.
I think that's the right way to do it.
I would do that. Then you know what's going on if somebody asks you.
But I don't see us, once we issue a decision here, I don't see us having an ongoing adjudicatory role.
No.
Just informational for us, but for someone else to decide.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna make those changes? You, Judy?
Yeah, I certainly can. Mike's going to send me this at the end of the
He's
night.
He's gonna send you what he has, and then you can fill in if there's
Yeah, I'll
anything
work on
missing.
it. It's fine.
Okay.
Of course, that's fine.
Okay. So that's just, that can, I can't remember, but that can be a defined term, Mike, how you describe the expert that's to be the peer review expert, and we can use that term in the
right.
So G8, I think, is it pursuant to the final plans? They're not called final construction plans, right? Are they just called final plans?
Everybody refers to them by different terms, but it's fine. I always call them final plans. Yeah.
Okay. Soil utilities. All utility. Okay, G9, confirming adequate capacity exists within the collection system. Is that what is it, the sewage collection system or the sewer collection system?
I think it's the sewer collection system.
Okay.
It is, Ted. I think if we put that word in there,
Yeah.
that'll clear that up.
Okay. And G10, at the end of the project, I don't know, just capital P. Do not cause extraneous infiltration. So I guess my question is, with some of these things, what happens if, if it doesn't comply with it? In other words, the end of the project, provide the engineering department with CCTV inspections of the sewer system so that issues with the installations do not cause extraneous infiltration in the municipal sewer system. I mean, do we need to say what happens if there is extraneous infiltration? That's the case on some of these things, where some of the other provisions, do we have to say what? I mean, some of the suggested provisions had bonds being posted for certain things, I don't know whether that's the right way to handle it, or.
Why don't we ask the engineering department, town engineer?
Okay. All right.
Because I don't know the answer to your question.
Yeah. For example, and I forgot to mention this while we were on it, but the construction traffic causing possible damage to Canton Avenue and other roads in Milton, the heavy construction traffic with fill and concrete and whatever, and all the trips. There was a suggestion that a bond be posted for that to repair the roads in a very high amount. So again, that's something. And those are suggestions. I don't know, that maybe we should, those suggested conditions, maybe we should go through them as well. Anyway, let's choose a story. So in G14, I mean, are these all conditions to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, or does it have to say before some of them that they're all conditions to certificates of occupancy?
Well, that's back in the earlier part where there's the conditions they have to meet to get their certificate. These sort of additional conditions are really kind of amplifying the standards to be met, or the expectations.
Okay.
But they're not tied to any particular event.
Yeah. G16, I just have a question. It says all street lighting shall incorporate glare cutoff shields. And then at the end, it says it's shown on the approved plans. I just have a question. Is it shown on the plans? I forgot to go back and look. G19 relates to infiltration systems. Right?
Mhm.
I guess, okay. Okay, so the board reserves, the sentence that begins the board, it's just, it should be applicant should be capitalized, but it's not a big deal. But then it says, the applicant and its successors shall submit annual reports of inspections of all
Structure.
yeah, I was going to say infiltration systems and other stormwater management structures, but maybe stormwater management structures is adequate.
I think it's adequate.
Yeah, okay. As prescribed in the O&M plan, is that defined?
It should be. It should be referred to earlier. Operations and maintenance plan.
Okay. Okay. Again, H.1, I think we've at the first sentence we referred to it as final plans earlier.
Right, we did. We took out construction. And that comes up again in a few more paragraphs.
Yeah. And then in H1, it says at the end, the applicant shall provide security consistent with the provisions of general laws. Should be a small c, period 41, and section 81U. And that section, which I looked at, has the planning board doing it. I mean, should this be as required by the building inspector or by DPW or something and not the planning board? Or?
Probably.
Planning board doesn't have a role in this.
Well, I know, but that section of the statute.
It's right, but because this is a comprehensive permit, everything under it falls with the Board of Appeals.
With this board, right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So we're standing in the shoes of the planning board for purposes
that's correct.
of this
Okay,
statute.
but in other sections, we've said that it's either the building inspector or the DPW or somebody else that's going to do it. So
Yeah, but that's different because that's not a board.
Yeah, you don't have to keep saying you're referring to yourselves in this. Where you're the authority, you're the authority.
okay. So you're saying we don't need to say as required by the building inspector?
No,
Because
you don't.
we can ask the building inspector? Okay, all right. Okay, I.8. I mean, we have in A and B, town may take one or more of the following steps. I mean, is one of the steps sometimes, Judy, to suspend work at the site until it's cured?
Are you on J8? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
I think it's I8. Or,
It's I8, but then I
Okay.
added an I first, so now it's J8.
Okay.
oh,
so-
okay.
So I don't really understand your question, Ted. I mean, this is laying out what happens if there's a violation.
Right. It says mandamus and then take such other action at law or in equity as may appear necessary to enforce these conditions.
Mhm.
Can we say something like including suspending work on the project until it's cured or something? Or
Why would you do that, though? Why do you need to?
I don't know, just so it's in there as I mean, at law or in equity, I guess I'm just not. I don't know whether that's an action that's at law or in equity, I guess, as you know, from what I'm used to saying, suspending work that's going forward under a comprehensive permit, but maybe it is. I just didn't see the harm in putting it in there.
We've just never done that. I mean, I realize we could, but
I'll leave it up to everybody else.
yeah, I think that's a decision you guys should make. I mean, my opinion is this covers you, but maybe I'm missing something.
What if, Ted, what if at the end of B, we put a comma and said, including suspension of all construction activity at the site?
Fine.
Would that work?
Yeah, that's, I think, what I said, but
But if we just put it at the end of B, we don't have to,
until the
we don't have to-
default is cured or something.
we don't have to make a separate
Fine.
section because it falls under
Yeah, no,
other action.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I have on that.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are other things we could look at too, but but you know, I mean, I think we need to say something in here about you know, there may be some other provisions we want in there, possibly on the stormwater issue. I don't know, or other suggestions that were made. Oh, and okay, access, Mergewood. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I had put in as the new I.
Yeah.
We hadn't really discussed it yet.
Well, I mean, some of the things I guess would be that there would be no parking on Birchwood or work on Birchwood or enlargement. I mean, I guess the plans seem to show, you know, Mergewood is being 50 feet wide. Under, maybe, I haven't seen a plan of it, but under one of the special permits, it talks about, I can't remember, a parcel or something. I can't remember how it's phrased, but it's certainly not 50 feet wide now.
Right. I mean, couldn't we have a condition that said that there shall be no construction activity on Mergewood Lane, including but not limited to, you know, parking of vehicles, whatever.
Yeah.
Judy, could we put something like that in there?
Without a final unappealable judgment of a court of competent jurisdiction or something.
Well, we don't want them doing that in any event, do we? On Mergewood during the construction period?
Isn't there, I mean,
I thought you already covered this under an earlier condition.
we did. But
Okay.
isn't
We did.
there-
Need to be here.
Does this permit as a whole hinge on whether or not they have the access right to Mergewood for emergency purposes?
I don't know.
Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry. I kind of missed that.
I might be overstating the importance of this access issue, but is there a way of looking at this that says that issuing this permit at all hinges on whether or not they have the access rights that they claim to have?
I think it does.
I think it does.
I mean, shouldn't that be the first?
What do we say though? This is important, and I think it's central to this whole thing. What do we say? Do we say you have to get a judgment, a final judgment from a court of competent jurisdiction, declaring that you have the unfettered right to use Mergewood for any purposes?
Why do you need to do this? I don't understand.
Well, how does it work, Judy? Let's assume that we issue the permit.
Yeah.
And there's a lawsuit by people.
Yep.
That say you can't use Mergewood for any purpose. Obviously not us, but somebody who has standing to bring that kind of a lawsuit. What happens? Does construction stop? In other words, what happens? I mean, do we let them build the project
I see what you're saying.
and ultimately have a court say, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a right to use that road for any purpose and you can't use it for emergency access because you have no rights in that road. Then what do we do? Then do we say, okay, I guess you don't have to have I guess you don't have to have an emergency access for a fire?
You
fire
said,
department?
if you said in your decision, they have to have this for emergency access. And it later became the case that they didn't have it, they would have to come back to you to amend the permit. They would have to come back and request a modification to the permit because they now can't meet a condition of the permit. And you would at that point have to decide if you're going to waive it.
Well, the fire department doesn't. The fire department requires the emergency access, doesn't
So
it?
I'm just
It's
talking about
secondary.
this permit and your responsibility. If
Right.
the applicant is subject to a condition that they later can't meet or choose not to meet, or that circumstances change, they come back to you to modify the permit.
Okay.
I mean, but you just used the word condition. So can we have a condition that says applicants shall have?
I thought you said they
Applicant
had to
must-
have, doesn't the permit say they have to have that for emergency access? I'm tired, so I'm not remembering. Is it in here?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's just say they have
Can't
to
remember,
they have
but
to
I-
provide emergency access, right? Are we saying that? We should be, I'm assuming that
If
that's.
it's not in there, we need to have it in there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so let's just say you say that. And they then can't meet that condition. Their choice is to come back to you to request a modification of the permit.
Right.
And then you have to decide, are you going to allow the modification or not?
Yeah.
So do we, is there anything that we can draft now in these conditions that addresses that, or is it already taken care of?
I don't remember it being already taken care of. I think it merits a separate condition because it is a pivotal issue. I think we should have something
Plans in the morning.
on it. I'm not sure
Yeah,
whether
I definitely think there should be a condition. I just don't remember. I'm getting tired, but I think we have to have a condition that says that this.
Said we
this
said
approval
when there
is-
was no parking on it. Yeah.
I think we have to say this, but that's during construction. That was a construction related
Right.
activity. What we need to have a condition that says that legal access over Mergewood Lane for the purposes of providing, access to fire and other emergency vehicles is a condition of this permit. In the event that it's determined, I don't know if we need to go that far. It is a condition of this permit, period.
Legal access that is satisfactory to the Milton Fire Department,
Right.
right?
But play this out for a bit, because I was trying to think this through today. So, all right, we issue this permit, and we have that condition in here. It says that if suddenly you don't have this access, you have to come back and see us, right? But
Mhm.
theoretically, that could be at a point where the thing is already built, right? And then what happens? We say, no, you can't use it. You're out of luck. That's the
Yeah.
conundrum I was having was how do you, so
I
how does
understand
that?
the problem. I get it.
I think we have to say, well, we know it's disputed. I mean,
Right,
And there's
I
no.
don't know whether we need to say something about a final unappealable judgment. Because, I don't know, both of them are saying, the applicant is saying they have legal access. Not only for emergency purposes, but other purposes.
Mhm.
And the abutters of Mergewood and Attorney Corcoran are saying they don't have
Right.
either one.
but
Yeah.
by the way, do we have a condition in there or is it made clear somewhere that they under the terms of this permit, that they may not use merge wood, whether or not they have a right to do so for any purpose other than emergency fire access?
Not yet.
I think
No,
we should have.
that's why we want this, yeah. I mean, we
So
say
we
they-
want-
yeah,
We
go ahead.
need to have that, I
Right.
think we need to have that condition in there.
I'm gonna have to go through this. I don't remember some of this. I'm gonna have to go back. Somewhere I
mean,
thought
I
that
can-
was in here.
Judy, I can help, with this too. I mean, because I've given it some thought and written down some notes.
Yeah,
I haven't written out any draft provisions. But
we just need to get to a point where we can have something really in final front form when we next meet, given that we're not going to meet next week.
I understand.
Here's what I suggest. I mean, we've got a pretty good document here. I think if we all got a good night's sleep and looked at this in the morning, I think it might be clearer what revisions we need to make.
Yeah, okay. So Mike, you've been making changes as we've gone along, right?
Yeah, so two things. One, I'll circulate a copy of what I have tonight to Brian and Ted and Judy.
Mhm.
And then in the morning, Ted is going to email me some language that he wanted included. I'll incorporate that into the document and then circulate it again. And then we'll have a week, 10 days to study it. And when we meet a week from Tuesday, we should be able to finish this.
Well, I mean, we haven't decided yet on the main issue.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I mean, I
The
think that
issue being
depends
what?
on-
Approval?
yeah, approval or not, yeah.
In my
Yeah,
mind,
part of
that
the
depends on
idea of
how-
this was to see if we could get comfortable enough with conditions. And two of the most important conditions are access and water,
Mhm.
as well as fill, that which we haven't finished the conditions on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were pretty close to finishing them, but
Well, yeah, Judy's got to talk to Sean about the
right.
Yeah.
groundwater.
I do, and I
wells.
need to go back. I'm trying to look at the plans too, which frankly, I'm tired at this point. So I'd like to look at them in the morning. I feel like I'm missing something here and I just don't know what it is.
Okay, so we're not going to come back. Crystal can help me with this. I've already forgotten the dates that we're going to come back for this during the week of the 25th. We're going to schedule 2 nights. I guess that's all we can schedule under the current
Yeah,
scheme of things.
The 26th and the 28th. And you said you wanted to do 5 o'clock, right?
I thought we should start at 5 just in case we
Okay.
needed a marathon session.
Yeah, and the 28th, I can't be with you. The 25th, I can.
Okay.
But Judy, let's just talk mechanics. So we've got to file this. We got to sign this and file it with the town clerk by May 4th.
Mhm.
May 2nd.
So, May 2nd, right.
May
So
2nd, correct.
whatever the Monday is.
Yeah,
So if we come back on Tuesday, the 26th, and let's say we vote that night on a final set of conditions, we're cool with the conditions, and we also say we vote in favor of the project. That gives you enough time to finalize the decision for us to sign.
Well, we got to have
well, I
the
gotta get
facts and the
it written. I
history,
gotta get
right?
the
I'm sorry?
procedural history. I mean, I have the findings of fact.
Usual history and facts and everything. Yeah.
I have
Well, I
the
mean, we-
jurisdictional findings written. That's done. So,
All right.
We can, okay, so I can work on that next week, right? I mean, if you send me a copy.
Ted,
of
I
it.
think Ted, if you're willing to do it, I think it would be great if you did.
Yeah, well,
I'm happy to do that. The jurisdictional findings are not hard.
yeah, I'll make time to do it. I mean, I think I said I'm in the process of trying to close down my law practice by the end of the month and move out of our space, and it's still a lot to do in that.
Right, I understand. I'm just not going to be around next week.
No, I know.
Mike, are you
Without
around
waivers.
next week? I mean,
You know, when I had asked Jesse to to give us some additional time, but apparently there's some complex reason why they can't or won't. And so we're just going to have to move along quickly.
Well,
But
whatever
I
I
mean,
do,
just
I'm
let
gonna-
me ask you a big picture question, Ted and Mike. If we, having gone through this process, and if we come up with, and I think we have come up with all these improvements tonight, if we come up with this set of conditions, will this set of conditions be sufficient for you to vote in favor of this project?
That's a good question.
I mean, because otherwise, I don't know what we're doing.
Well,
I mean, if this set of conditions doesn't do it for you, then why not just vote no tonight? I mean, I don't understand the delay.
well, yeah, I mean, the reason I'm willing to go through them and everything is that you're basically saying that if it's denied, no matter what the reason is under this, I mean,
Ted, you can read the case law as well as I can. I'm not.
yeah, but I haven't tried cases like you have. I mean,
But all you have to do is to go into Westlaw and punch up 40B Massachusetts and read a few of the cases, and you'll
It's
see
not pretty.
it's not pretty. I mean, you don't have.
okay, well, that's fine. I can take your word for that, but I mean, and I do take your word for it. So that's the reason, otherwise I would be in favor of denying it, but I am concerned about, the ability, the not having the ability to impose conditions. If we do that,
Well,
and I know that's what you are too, and I know Mike's concerned about that too.
I would probably vote no as well, even if I thought, and this is not the case, but if we were overturned in a denial, and then it was remanded to us to reconsider conditions, then it would be a no risk proposition for us. But that's not the way it works.
Right.
So,
I guess based on that, my answer has to be yes. If we come up with a satisfactory set of conditions, I would be inclined to vote in favor of it for that reason.
I have to say that, in all the cases that I've been involved in 40B, this one probably presents some of the most possibly sustainable issues that I've seen, even at HAC. I mean, because this water issue is a huge issue.
Yeah. Well, so is the access issue, maybe.
A lot of the other issues, traffic and stuff like. I mean, every 40B has those. I mean, or many of them do. But I'm not sure how many 40Bs have the kind of water issues that we're facing here, and this importation of huge thousands of cubic yards of fill in order to deal with the water issue. It's a case that possibly you could win, but I think it's a big risk for us to disapprove this plan. I think it's a huge risk. It would have catastrophic impact for the town if this was largely unconditioned.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about the risk to the neighborhood. Neighborhood. Yeah.
So I guess all I'm trying to say is, and I think we've had a great process, the three of us together. I'm just trying to say that I'd like to think that if at the end of the day, the following Tuesday, the 26th, we've managed to incorporate all of the good suggestions that have been made tonight, and all, I think, the valuable conditions that have been up to this point. I'd like to think that we'll, having gone through that process, that we'll all agree to vote in favor of this. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the point of all this is. So anyway, enough of preaching for me. I think there were a couple of other, just before we go, there were a couple of other thoughts I had about conditions, and they may be silly, but let me just go back and look at my own notes. I wasn't going through it line by line like you did, Ted, and I'm glad you did that.
While you're doing that, Mike, what do you think about that?
About what we were just discussing?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me sick to think about going to HAC and the project being remanded with instructions to the board to issue the permit unconditioned, right? Because think of all the conditions that we talked about tonight. It would be a project without any controls on the construction management plan. There would be no controls on the groundwater system. There would be no controls on anything. And this developer and this project on this property, an unconditioned building project,
Yep.
in my mind, is the worst case scenario. And so if we can take measures to calculated risk, if we can take measures to get the project within a comfort level that seems reasonable, I think we have to do it. I just don't see any way around it. I think there are real issues too. I mean, access to the control over Mergewood Road and some other things too are real threshold issues that I think they'll need to be worked out. But we're not in, and there are lots of weird issues in this project. We're not in the position to make determinations on those things. But I think we're in a tough spot, but I think this is the right thing. If we can work out a good set of conditions, I think that's probably the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Let me just run through a few ideas. And Judy, you may say to me, no, Brian, these are already covered in other provisions, but I'm just going to read this to you quickly. 1, create an area at the end of the access driveway for children to wait for and exit from school buses. 1. 2, related, arrange with the Milton School Department for pickup and drop off by bus of all school-age children living in the development. 3, develop a plan approved by the Milton Police Chief for routes for truck traffic entering and exiting the site. Next, to provide for a police detail at the entry of the site during construction at times determined by the police chief. No truck traffic on Canton Avenue before, I just arbitrarily said, 8 a.m. and after 4 p.m. And we've already touched upon this, and I don't think it's practical, but it's one I had in my mind. Prior to something, construction, issuance of a certificate of occupancy, you pick an event, obtain a final judgment confirming the pertinent right of the subject property to use Mujeres for access by emergency vehicles, including necessary fire apparatus to and from the site. And I guess those are all the ones that I had. And maybe those are subsumed in some of the other things we've talked about.
Typically, the only thing that goes in the decision around school bus pickup and so forth is that the applicant will provide a bus stop for school students approved by the Milton School Department and the Police Department.
Okay. So can we just put that in there? Is that just?
No, I think
okay.
it's fine. I think that's fine to put that in there.
And okay, now, and how about, is there a traffic management plan that's going to be put into place that's going to say, for example, you cannot enter or exit the site so as to go toward the center of town, that all traffic has to go out the other way to and from, all truck traffic? Can we tell? I mean, because I just can't imagine all of those huge trucks driving down by Town Hall every morning and taking a left-hand turn into that site. I mean, shouldn't we try to direct them in some particular way to come to the site and exit the site?
I wish we had more input from the traffic peer review consultant on the construction phase, because I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Okay, but I think there's something in the conditions about a traffic management plan, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
And would that be
Part of the
part of the
construction
traffic? Would that be part of the traffic management plan to direct routes?
One of the conditions lays out the minimum requirements of the construction management plan, and part of that is a traffic management plan.
Okay. This is just completely anecdotal, but I intentionally drove up Canton Avenue from Town Hall going south, I guess it is, at 3:30 this afternoon. And the traffic was backed up from that light at the police station way past 648, 652 Canton Avenue. And that's just an ordinary day. So picture dozens of these huge trucks pulling out onto Canton Avenue, leaving the site at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't even imagine what that's going to do. And so I think a traffic management plan by people who know what they're doing is really important. Yeah, and I don't profess to know what that would say. You know, maybe you should be delivering things, you know, from 6 to 7 and no other time. But I think that becomes a very important part of this.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not qualified to answer the question.
Okay. I just would love to know I'd love to know what goes into a traffic management plan.
Can we make that a condition that traffic management plan be created and approved by the police chief or whoever it is?
Well, I think it is part of the.
I think that's in there, isn't it?
It is, yeah, there's a traffic management plan as part of the construction management plan, which
Right.
is, you know, to be approved by various town departments. So
Okay. Then maybe that's all we can do. Maybe that's all we can do.
Brian, is that what you've just been reading from? Is that something that you'd written down?
Literally written down.
Well, I'm sorry.
I bet too, isn't
Yes,
it?
literally written down in red,
Yeah.
scratchy
Okay.
handwriting.
You
Would you be
guys,
able to take a picture of it and send the picture to Judy?
If Judy can read it, she's a better-
I typed
she's a better-
it into the document that,
you already did?
yeah,
You.
Everything he said?
most of it, yeah.
It's
Wow.
not every word. It's
Okay.
not important that every word be there. So as long as you get the idea.
All right.
You guys
All
are
right.
great.
So my hope is that when we meet on the 26th, that we'll have
Excuse me.
something close to a final decision with all the various conditions that we've discussed.
Yep.
That we can go through that, and that's why I want to start at 5 and go long enough so that at the end of that session, we will say, yes, this works, or yes, this works, but we need to make these few final tweaks, and then to come back on Thursday, the 28th, and basically take a vote to approve the comprehensive permit and the decision, and somehow to sign it, and then get it into the hands, I guess, of Crystal so that it can be filed with the town clerk.
Right.
That would be my hope.
So I may have to ask Tim or someone to be available to the board on the 28th in terms of any technical issues, because I can't. I have another meeting that night. I can't
I
get
mean,
out of.
technical in terms of getting it filed and
Just any final things
processed.
that come up like tonight, you know, that if there's something that
Okay.
else needs to weigh in on, I would love to join you, but I know I can't.
That's Judy, that's understandable. All right, does that sound like a plan and a program?
Yep.
And if all goes to hell, pardon my French, and we don't agree, then we don't agree, and we'll vote. And if we vote it down, we vote it down. But it's a risky proposition.
Well, you still may end up with the HAC at this anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they may challenge some of the conditions. I have no doubt. But the beauty about the conditions, though, is the HAC says, okay, you can't have those 4 conditions, but it doesn't throw the whole thing out.
Right, I understand.
Whereas
I
if
know.
you go over there with a turn down, you got nothing for them, and they just say, approve it.
Unless the
So-
conditions are so onerous that taken in their entirety, they are tantamount to a denial.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're pretty reasoned. I mean, I think even Hack would have to look at this project and say, wow, this really presents some.
You are
tricky
so
issues.
kind.
Right,
No,
and that's
do.
got to be in the facts. I mean, the disagreement among the experts and everything, and the you know, all the issues with the fill, and I mean, for them to really understand why some of those conditions are in there. If
Right.
you know, if we end up doing that, you
Mm,
know, end up approving. I
mm.
mean, it's
Yep.
that's critical that they understand the difficulty of the issues.
Well, that's up to our lawyers to.
Either way,
understand that,
yeah.
right? That's what we have Johanna Schneider for. Okay, are we done for this evening?
I sure hope so, because I'd like to go home.
Yeah. Judy, thank you so much. And,
Oh,
and
thank you.
Ted, Mike, thank you very much. This has been very helpful and very thoughtful and careful tonight. I think we made some good progress on it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Crystal, thank you for sitting through all this.
Yeah, Crystal.
No problem.
You must be thinking to yourself, what is this all about?
Wonder
Why-
what
I'll
you get
schedule
yourself
us for
into.
those 2 days for 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, guys. Good
Thank you
evening.
so
guys.
much. Yep.
We'll
Good
see you
night,
soon.
thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Okay, good night.